So the first session, as the name implies, we'll discuss something on the quality. And when it goes to the quality aspect, how everybody knows what is qualities. My approach will be that how to really integrate this quality to your day-to-day life, unless you accept it as an individually faculty member. You cannot push that in your department, and your department cannot push that in institute, and at the same times if the institute is so now the quality aspect are discussed in various places. Let me talk in the industrial perspectives. So if you see here, these 5 M's: manpower, machine, material, methods, measurement. Don't see the below one. Just see this first 5 terminology of M. In manufacturing industry, those who are mechanical engineer or those who are from production, even metallurgy in that matter, they might be knowing that the 5 M's theory. So the root cause analysis, or basically the quality analysis, is done using the 5 terminology, the 5 M's. One aspect is manpower analysis, another is the infrastructure in terms of machines, then the material used, the method followed, and the medium or the process of measurements. So this is from the manufacturing industry point of view. When we go for the product and marketing point of view, they talk about 8 P's. So their quality aspects depends on as a product or marketing people. They talk about their P for product, P for price, P for place, P for promotion, P for people, P for process, P for proof. If you see those who are from MBA department and marketing as a specialization for them, they will appreciate that these 8 P's are taught to them. So they also consider the quality aspects in terms of 8 P's. So even our marketing divisions, they take care of this thing. But when it comes to the service industries, then the service industries, their root cause analysis for quality enhancement depends on surroundings. So they depend on basically 5 A's. So surroundings, supplier, systems, the skill which is available there, and the safety factor. So when we look into this, whether it is a manufacturing industry, if you see manpower, machine, material, method, process, if you go to this product, price, place, promotion, people, process, proof, there is a commonality here. And if we go to the service industry, there is also commonality. That place is surrounding, the people whom you are talking, the skilled people you are talking, the safety is a part of the process. So the system is taking care of the equipments and the measurements which you are going to take. So that way, if you see all this, whether it is a service industry, whether it is a product industry, whether it is a manufacturing industry, all three are having more or less the common quality parameters. Can we consider our university system to be a marketing product system? Can we compare this as a marketing unit?
Sir, I am from Nagpur. So I think a university is not a marketing product, sir.
So you don't see that we are not for marketing our product.
Yes, sir.
So do you agree that we are a service industry? Do you agree that university system or the educational system is a service industries? You see, nowadays the common word which we used, we say our academic is also an industry. Our academic institutes are industry. Let me come back to your denial fact of the product marketing. What is the role of the placement officer? Madam, I am raising this question to you. What is the role of the placement officer?
Placement officer is that officer he is providing a quality product to the society, sir.
placement officer of the university or institutes, they propagate or promote your students' capacity, your institute strength, and
Yes, sir.
try to convince the company, look, I have those students who can meet your requirements. So
Yes,
the
sir.
job of the training and placement officer is to convince the company that the product which is having as student, they are capable of bringing changes to the company or deliver to the company. So prior to that, he ensure that the proper pre-placement training or these gaps trainings are conducted for the students, so that the students get to know not only curriculum, beyond curriculum which the companies are looking forward to, and based on this, he creates a profile of the institute in name of leaflet or information voucher, then goes to the different companies or push those leaflet to the different people of the companies, convincing them that look, there is a market here where you will have the right kind of products in form of my student.
Yes, sir.
So, so if we see that as the situation, then I personally feel that those things, product, price, place, promotion, people, process, proof, are part of the training and placements initiative. Though it is very, being a teacher, I don't want to tell my student as product. It is, I also feel sometimes derogative of using this. But honestly, in a broader sense, if we see, we are creating those students who are to be accepted by those company as their person to bring changes in the company. So therefore, if I, in a timing, in a, like we say, it is narrow sampling, if we do in that sampling stage, then they have a product equivalency. Then when we go to the service industries concept, we are making our students skillful. So some aspect of the service industries are also taken care by the academic industry. And obviously, when we are going to process them for 4 years, 3 years, as the case may be, so you got a person with certain material inputs in them. They came out from different locations, different schools. They entered your university. Then you started giving those materials. You started using those process. You started giving them those exposures, those methods, and they are a different kind of manpower for the society and industry. So therefore, the industrial process of manufacturing is also part of our curriculum activities which we do. So as a person from the fraternity, being a faculty member and also after holding the administrative positions, I see that whether it is a manufacturing, whether it is a product, whether it is a service industry, all these three components are somehow having a mapping with our academic institutes, with our academic industries. Therefore, those components of qualities, whether it is a 8 Ps or 5 Ps or 5 Ms, what they follow more or less can be mapped. If you create a matrix or a rubrics, it will definitely map to your day-to-day activities, your students' activities, and finally the product which is coming out of your university. So therefore, personally, I feel that when I raise this question to you, that what are we, because I am also part of you, then I personally feel that we are three in one. We play the role of all these three industries. So therefore, my way of visualizing the quality is that the concept of manufacturing will come as part of the quality issues. The concept of product also will come as a quality issues. The concept of service industry also will come as quality issues when we talk about our internal quality assessment or assurance. Then we'll go for the NBA and NAC accordingly. In this whole process, remember one thing, this SPP is very important. So when your visiting teams, they come to you, whether it is a visit of NAC or UGC or NBA or AICT, they go with these three things. What we speak, what we are speaking, whether it is in practice or not. If it is in practice, whether there is document to prove that or not. So your speak, your practice, your document as proof, these three components are very much important when we go for the any type of visit and try to get that accreditations from them. So therefore this SPP are to be made strong. So what you are speaking must be shown as practice, and what we are practicing, that should have a solid proof as document. Anywhere if you are missing, you will be losing the score, so that will affect your overall grading. So that is the way I personally feel that these type of aspects needs to be thoroughly discussed, and there I am going to give you some tips what as visiting team experts they look forward to, what as chairman of the team which we look forward to, so that you can take care of these micro details, and that will definitely improve your quality requirements. Let's look into certain quality bodies which are available. They may have partial mapping, they may have full mapping. So I thought I'll bring this qualities aspect in front of you so that you get to know how the agencies are working and where we stand. In India, any institute, any organizations of the academic in nature, if we talk, they are very much aware of NAC and NBA. Since NAC and NBA are going to be detailedly told to you at this stage, I will not take up. So if you have a good score in NAC, you have a good accreditation from NBA, then your NIRF will be automatically driven out of this. So therefore the NIRF component I have not brought here. So in India, we have two accreditation assessment bodies, one at program level, like National Board of Accreditation is programmatic assessment, whereas NAC is the institutional assessment. And we'll have a detailed discussion on that. At this stage, I am avoiding that. When we go to the different other countries, then for UK, they have QA. There are different bodies, but the most relevant bodies I have picked up here. So, and there is an objective behind it. Why I am giving this to you, that IQSC centers should take care of while preparing their quality document. They should not only just see the UGC guidelines, because IQSC takes care of benchmarking and standard setting. When you are going for a standard setting or benchmarking, you must have accessibility to the other countries' quality benchmarks, so that the good practices or the best practices can be thought of, discussed. Once it is accepted, that becomes part of your quality document of your university or the institute. Therefore, I have brought certain things depending on your location and the facilities available. You can see how much other quality benchmarks component can be added to your IQSC. So if you see the QA, the Quality Assurance Agency of Higher Education in UK, they are basically more advising in nature, and they do monitor and periodical review, assessment, to ensure that the university or the higher education institute, they maintain certain standard. So their component is their part of advising. Then they do monitoring, also review it, assess it, so that the standard is maintained. So they have 5 multiple roles: reviewing, assessing, monitoring, and advising. Let's go to the upcoming educational hub, the South Africa, where, as you know, we like country like India, Brazil, China, they are all forcing themselves to be part of a bigger education system of South Africa. Forget about the US and other things, they are already investing a lot of money. So the South Africa also has a higher education quality council. They are again into quality assurance, quality promotions. So it conducts institutional audit and program evaluation. Mark here. The UK one is not very micro details, not program level assessment. It is more university assessment, whereas South Africa body is also conducting the audit and taking care of the program level evaluations. Coming to the Russia has NCPA, National Center for Public Accreditations. So they are into evaluation. Along they actually both accreditation and quality assurance, like our NAC, they do both the things, but they do focused more on research. So the Russian this NCPA along with the accreditation and quality assurance also gives more importance to the research component. In our country, more or less, we follow the Ireland model. The Ireland model is more robust. They take care of lot of internal components. So the higher education authority here is part of the funding agency. The previous one which I discussed, they are not into funding. But if you see our UGC, they fund, our AICT, they fund, where they do the job of the regulation also. UGC for higher education in the university system, AICT for technical educations. They do the job of the regulations, they do the job of the funding. Both the aspects are matching with the Ireland. That's why in the initial stage, I told that our country follows more or less the Ireland model. So it also ensure that the quality assurance and the institutional reviews are done, which is the job of the NAC. As you know, NAC is a part of UGC. So it is an autonomous body of UGC. So therefore, if the here's one, if you see the Higher Education Authority of Ireland role responsibility, if you see, then it takes care of our UGC and NAC together. Because UGC does the job of funding and regulations, and its autonomous wing, that is called NAC, it takes care of the quality assurance and institutional reviews. Coming to the Saudi Arabia, because now we are opening up our IITs and other institutes also gradually will get opened up. This National Center for Academic Accreditation and Assessment is for evaluation and accrediting the higher education institute. So it is only the evaluation and accreditation of the institution. So more or less, it is a job of like NAC. When it go to the Australian universities, the Australia has many such unit, but one of the unit which is now TQSI, that is Terrestrial Education Quality and Standard Agency. Earlier it was EUQA. Now they have renamed as this. Their job is to ensure quality in the higher education system. And especially they focused more on the private organizations. They ensure that the private organizations, they meet the quality which is required for higher education system. The country like Kenya also, they have a commission for university education, and they are also into quality assurance. They ensure the university meets the standard in terms of program, facilities and governance. If you see, our AICT does this job. AICT sees the facilities along with the UGC also, because in UGC it's look into the university system. They look into the program level, what type of academic programs are run, and to certain extent governance. But our AICT UGC intervention in governance is less, but the Kenya's case, they also interfere in the governance. The Japan, they follow JIHEE, Japan Institute for Higher Education Evaluation. They are also evaluation and assessment for quality enhancement. Ghana is having National Accreditation Board, like we have National Board of Accreditation, they have a NAB. The NAB is for accreditation as well as quality higher education, assurance of the quality higher education program. Cambodia do have. When we go to the France has many bodies, but one of the body which is more responsible, including the private system they are having, they not only focused more on research and teaching governance, but on internationalization. So this body of the France, they also emphasize on internationalization of higher education. So this particular, if you go through the detailed documents of this organization, because if you go to the internet and just put their name, their total vision, mission, quality aspect, their manuals, all those things will be available for you. And those documents will facilitate you to create a right kind of IQSC document, and you can really improve your standard of quality, and the assessment, evaluation or accreditation team, when they visit you, you can satisfy them to a large extent. When it comes to the company, this German higher education systems, they don't have a formal body. They have certain bodies in different name, but they are not like the other countries which I discussed so far, having that authority to go and do something and telling that you are not having the quality. It is not like that. Germany has a model where they focused more on internal quality assurance and self-assessment. That is a country, that's why I have highlighted this very much here. Germany is a country who believes in their own self-assessment. They're truthful to themselves. They try to become a self-conscious person who understand what is the value of quality, try to ensure this quality in their own process, then in the department, then in the university. So therefore, Germany higher education system, or the German higher education system, is a self-quality assured system where each individual has the motivation, intention, initiative to see that this self-assessment is done in a truthful way, and those self-assessment is driving their quality vehicle. I will request all the participants to go through the model of the German, so that it will give you a internal feeling that you are also capable of self-assessing yourself. You can also improve yourself, and that will ultimately help the systems to grow further. When it goes to the US, country like US, there is no single body which directly maps to our NAC, but they have multiple bodies. One such body is regional accreditation. As you know, US is divided into several regions. So therefore, they have regional accreditation bodies. For example, like Middle State Commission or Higher Education, the Western Association of School and Colleges, the Southern Association of Colleges and School Commission. Like that, they have many regional accreditation bodies, depending on their regions. Then they follow a strategy called specialized accreditation. That means program specific. which is equivalent to our NBA. So the specialized accreditation followed in US, like ABET, those who are from engineering organizations in engineering institute attending this course, they know what is ABET. And many of our Indian institute also, they apply for ABET accreditation. So this is our equivalent body of National Board of Accreditation, NBA. So being a part of the Washington AGAT signatories, our NBA accreditations and ABET accreditations are at par. Then, like our Bar Council, they go for accreditations. So they have American Bar Association ABA accreditation for law school. Similarly, we have for architectures, then the business school. So they do have also for business school. So therefore, if you see, the specialized accreditations are more program specific, discipline specific, whereas the regional accreditations are more institutional specific, but for that region. Then coming to the another name which is US is following called programmatic accreditation. They are mainly followed for health sciences. For example, the medical schools, nursing program, teacher education program, they follow this programmatic accreditation process in US. The US Department of Education, they do conduct some accreditation process. This accreditation process used to recognize the accreditor. They have different accrediting agencies. Whether they qualify to be a accrediting agency or not, that is seen by the US Department of Education. And this Department of Education, they take accreditation of those agencies. If they qualify their accreditation process, then they are recognized as the license agency for accrediting the education system in US. But the US department, they don't go directly to the institute or university level. So basically, they certify, give the certification to the agencies. The Singapore, if you see, the Singapore award, the equivalent organizations to NAC is Singapore Examination and Assessment Board. We say SIAP. So the Singapore Examination and Assessment Board, it is more or less follows the same strategy what NAC is following. Therefore, I have slightly elaborated that more here. The SIAB is responsible for various aspects of education quality assurance. So quality assurance is part of that. Also the assessment, examination and accreditation in the country. If you see the self-study report of the form which you fill up for the NAC, the total what this assurance, assessment, examination, all these things are falling under that. SIAB is also involved in curriculum development and assessment for school in Singapore, which NAC doesn't. But NAC in their visit, they do verify this. How is your curriculum? Because if you see, NAC has three categories. One is your university, one is your for autonomous body, third is your affiliating institutions. So therefore, in Singapore, they get involved in the curriculum development. We don't get involved in curriculum development, but our IQSC is very much part of that. So in institutions, since IQSC is a body which is by the guidelines of UGC, and also it is driving the NAC requirement. So indirectly, if you see our IQSC, which is like SIAP, is involved in curriculum development and assessment. SIAB also plays a role in accrediting educational institute in Singapore, particularly in the context of the private education institute. Because the private institute in the Singapore, they have to have a SIAB accreditation so that their standard and qualifications are recognized. SIAB often benchmarks Singapore education systems and assessment practices against international standard. This is exactly what my objective is, to give all this information to you, so that when you sit as part of the IQSC team, please ensure that the benchmarks are taken in such a way that it is not only institutional, it is national as well as international. So that is the reason why I am bringing all these international perspectives in your uh, presentation, in my presentation, so that you get to know how we should proceed to create our IQSC quality document. Then SIAB works to ensure the quality and integrity of assessment and examination process in Singapore. This is again creating a high standard of examination system and assessment system. So even if your document, your curriculum, all those things are good, if you don't follow a qualitative, improved assessment and evaluation system, it is going to fail. So the Singapore one is more or less is taking care of holistic requirement of quality in education system. Europe also many bodies are there, as you know, they go with many bodies, but this particular ENQR, this is a mainly bigger body, serves as the umbrella organizations to ensure that every country they meet certain quality aspect. So if you see, it gives a platform of collaboration and exchange of best practices among national agencies. So as I told you, Europe has many different national agencies, but they have a common platform, that is NQA. So this common platform gives the common place to share best practices and also create networks among themselves. Another EQAR is also a quality assurance agencies, and they are basically creating the standard, comply the European standard with the international standard as a form of international standard, so that the European education is internationally recognized. So these are the certain things which I thought I should share with you, so that you get to know the aspects which are followed in other countries. Now I made a common study for them. All the agencies what I brought in front of you, some of the things I have not brought in front of you, like APAC, the Asia Pacific Accreditation Commission. APAC is also our CPSC Manila Colombo Plan Staff College in Manila. It is there. It is part of their body. They also come for accreditation of the institute, not like a program. So many of the countries, they are also taking the APAC accreditation. So when I made a comparative chart, what are the common factors they are following, then I got some common parameters in front of you. Basically, if you see, it is 10 common parameters I have brought in, but if you elaborate slightly more, you may go beyond this also. So one of the parameters which they are common, the standard and criteria. This is the heart or the spinal cord of any quality systems. So if you want to ensure a proper quality systems, your standards and criteria are to be discussed many times, compared, and you should create the standard and criteria in such a way that it is not ambiguous, understandable to everybody, and they contribute, they participate in this process to see that the standard and criteria are maintained. So creating a standard and criteria for quality is the primary requirement, and this needs lot of discussion, involvement of many stakeholders, and accordingly, once it is established, then next aspect is one of the important component is evaluation and assessment. Only it is other way around. It is assessment and evaluation. As you know, assessment is a continuous data collection. Evaluation is the final stage. So it is assessment and evaluation. I wrongly put it, so I'll correct that. So you say it is assessment and evaluation. So once your standard and criteria are given, then you must specify a very good assessment process and evaluation methodology. So your assessment and evaluations are to be robust, of high standard, and that will maintain the quality for the higher education system. There should be a dynamic process for continuous improvement. Today, what you are, you don't want to continue in the same status or below the status. You want to improve upon this thing. Even though it is a delta, you would like to have a continuous improvement. So therefore, there must be a dynamic process of continuous improvement, and there must be a well-defined document where the methodologies are there, these processes are there, so that the individuals, they follow this process and create a pathway for themselves, for the department, for the institute to have a continuous improvement. The key factor is transparency. It is obvious what we do if it is not known to the other who is sitting beside me. What I do as HOD is not known to the director, and what director is doing is not known to me, or what my faculty member is doing is not known to the director, then that is not a good system. There must be the transparency to the full extent, because in our education systems, being an ex-administrator, I can tell you there is not much of confidentiality. Even if your selection process, where once the candidates are selected, till the envelope gets opened, that is the period for which there is a confidentiality, because they have to follow a oath of confidentiality. So therefore, if you are thinking that in our academic institute like a national security agency will have a lot of confidential document, then that is not correct. We should open up our door and windows in such a way that everything is known to everybody. So transparency is a very key factors. Therefore, a well-defined transparency document. When I say document, means you have to create the methodology and process and tools to be followed. Everywhere, all these components requires tools or methodology or process to be followed, so that they deliver to the expectation level or the goal which you are fixing. What is your transparency goal to be fixed? For this goal, what are the tools to be used, how the process will be used, and how do you reach to that goal needs to be defined. You cannot leave aside the stakeholders. And the definition of stakeholder I'll take up during my NBA presentations. But stakeholder is, you have to make as wide as possible. Your stakeholder should not be your principal and HODs alone. It should go to the ground zero level, whoever directly or indirectly involved. Even the industry expert who is going to come take a class for your people or deliver a seminar talk is also part of your stakeholder, because he has a contribution there. So he has a rights to know how my contribution has helped your institute. So therefore, if you see, the stakeholder is a very important component. So you should have a document separately for stakeholder. Peer review. It is not only you review yourself, your peer review document also should be created, so that you have a clear cut, a closed loop review process where the feedbacks are fed to the systems and you are getting the review process in a transparent way. Reports and feedback is very important. It rather feedback and reports other way around. So not only the collecting of data, the data should be collected with proper tools prepared for data. If your tools are not properly prepared, your feedback collection is also partially correct. So therefore, your tools are to be direct and indirect tools. So once you create the direct indirect tools, then obviously there needs to be analysis. Once the analysis is done, remedial actions are to be created, those things are to be reported, and there should be a monitoring approach to see that the remedial actions are getting implemented. And once the remedial actions are implemented, that needs to be again reviewed, and once it is reviewed, it should be documented. So that leads to a periodic review. So this is a process which is completing with a periodic review. So certain things will require quarterly review, certain things biennial review, something yearly, something 2 yearly. So like that, you have to have a review cycles for different component. Same component, you cannot create the same type of periodic review cycle for everything. So you have to ensure that your periodic review documents has different review cycle for different components. Then finally, there should be a document on teaching learning outcomes, because all our education process are student centric. So in this student centric approach, we cannot exclude the common factor of teaching learning or student focused teaching learning. So teaching learning outcome is a very important aspect, which is also a common factor for all these countries which we discuss. And majority of the countries, they follow a standard called international benchmarking. So therefore, we cannot exclude ourselves from this international benchmarking also. So if you see here, all these 10 components creates a very good documents for quality assurance for any university or any institute. And when I was going through these documents to prepare certain policy document for the countries, then I found that more or less all these 10 common factors are strongly emphasized. There are other factors also. I have not brought that here, but the more emphasized 10 factors I brought in front of you. So you can have a look to that and look forward to improve your quality systems. Okay, so then let me start the next session. So the already I was hinting you that in the international scenario, these 10 standard common factors which I picked up for you, this I put in front of you. I'll not be elaborately discussing that. As a task one, I am giving a task to you people, which after the IQSC you have to work out on that and give me before launch. The task one, you can note, you have to create a one page tool and methodology document. You have to create a center wise, not individual. Center wise, you have to create a one page tools and methods to be followed for these two tasks: continuous improvement and peer review. Continuous improvement and peer review. You have a choice. You can take one of them. Continuous improvement and for peer review, you create a one page document that express the tools to be used and the process to be followed. So this is the task. You start thinking over it. Let me finish my session, then come back to you so that we'll work on these tasks before leaving. So once you know a method of preparing this, then for other thing you can very well go and prepare. So let's come to the requirement of IQSC. As you know, it is a requirement of UGC. So we have to have IQSC in each and every institution. Why for others we are doing it? It is for us, it is required. So my way of teaching you IQSC is, what is IQSC? This that I am not going to teach, because that is the reason I shared a document of 2012 to 17, this 5 years IQSC document guidelines for you. So you know what is the structure, what is the quorum, all those things. But I have picked up 20 points here. I have picked up 20 points under this IQSC and we'll discuss those 20 points. I'll give my input and accordingly you can think of creating a document for yourself. And already I have given you the international agencies who are already following this type of quality accreditations and assessment process. So the first component is quality assurance. So basically the IQSC document is institutional document, and this institutional document ensure quality of the institute. So basically when it is quality of the institute, it says in institute or university, what do they offer? They offer the education. So obviously the IQSC documents is to be focused on the quality enhancement or the quality aspect of education, which the university or the institute is imparting to. And also the processes that supports this quality requirement. So therefore, one of the prime component of the IQSC document or the goal of IQSC is quality assurance. It should speak what is that quality education you are talking about and how your institutional processes are helping to achieve this quality education. Then it is to be dynamic. The quality is like in NBA, you know, if you get full National Board of Accreditation, it is for 6 years. Provisional, it is 3 years. And if you don't get, it is 0. So that means the permanent accreditation or the maximum accreditation life cycle is 6 years. So quality is not a stagnant component. It is dynamic nature. So therefore, continuous improvement is a very important aspect. So IQSC must look into the continuous improvement. So when we are talking about the continuous improvement, so obviously our main is educational, then the institution process. But when we talk about the educations, then we have to come to the micro and macro details. So when we are coming to the macro and micro details, then obviously our academic programs will come into picture, research will come into picture, administration will come into picture, student services will come into pictures. Many those, once you break down, your continuous improvement will be, even curriculum will come into pictures, your this student support system for higher education and placement will come into picture, startup will come into picture, many things will come into picture, because that is the way you have to break down that your main components of to subset, superset, like that type of situation. Then IQSC emphasize on autonomy. You create a committee and you interfere. That means you are not allowing the autonomy to work in that democratic thought process. So there must be a clear-cut documents how the autonomy or delegation powers have been handed over and how the autonomy is exercised. So a operational document must be in place in an institute to say that this is the degree of autonomy which has been delegated to the individuals or the individual authority, and this is the operational manual which speaks how this is being operated, and this is the outcome of the partial or our evaluation process of this autonomy. So if you see here, I have clearly mentioned IQSC operates with a degree of autonomy. So therefore, you must have a document which shows that you have given delegation of power. You must show that the delegation of power given to them operates under a operational principle. So there is a standard operational procedure, SOPs. And once the SOPs are implemented, to what extent it has been implemented, that should be assessed and evaluated. Next document of the IQSC is benchmarking. When I say document, means each chapter of IQSC document we are talking here. So the benchmarking is an approach to create a standard against a best practices. So the best practices can be from within the institute, outside the institute, from the national level, from the international level. And it must be realistic, looking into your infrastructure available, your strength available, your expertise available. You have to create the benchmarking approach. So once the benchmarking standards, so the standards are to be kept, the standards are to be quantified. That if you reach this is what is the score. If you reach this is what the scores. So either the grade or score, something has to be done. So you have to quantify yourself for this type of issues. Then coming to the self-assessment. The self-assessment, I'll suggest that you must follow the German model of the self-assessment, because we must know how to assess ourselves, not only individually, department-wise and institutional-wise. So self-assessment is basically the SWOT or SWOT analysis, what you do. Strength, weakness, opportunity, concern, or the threat, whatever you say. I say SWOC, and somebody may say it is SWOT. So that's the way you have to see it. But I'll suggest the German practice model of self-assessment must be looked at. Documentation. Many of the institute when we visit, I personally believe and see that they have many good practices. Even at individual level, many faculty members are doing lot of good things to take care of their students. But unfortunately, these are not documented, maintained in a proper way. So that is a point where I told you that speak, practice and prove. So the proof is from the documentation. So many of you are aware of the ISO standard. Even the IQAC also has annexures. If you see the document, they have annexures to create the document. Please follow those annexures to create your document. And you can supplement some ISO component in that so that your documentation process is properly taken care. Don't neglect this aspect. Small thing, even the indexing page, page numbering, all these things are seen by the committee. Then total IQAC depends on data collection. So the data collection depends on sensor, how the sensors are active. So the sensors are activated with your tools. So create a right kind of tools, give it to the right kind of people who will collect data for you without putting noise on that, without giving wrong information to you. Then once the data comes, analyze it and go for a decision making. So now the AI systems, it gives a lot of support to you for decision making. I'll show you when I'll be taking a session on Chat GPT. So that time I'll show you how this Chat GPT can improve your documentation, decision making, and a lot of exercise you'll do using the Chat GPT. So that day I'll request all of you to be having this laptop with you. I think this session I have kept um, I'll put sometimes, I think Dr. Rakesh Watson 14th was telling that he is having some engagement, so maybe I'll put that way. So I'll be using the Chat GPT for helping your documentation process. So we'll look into that. And maybe bone diagram theory, which we'll be discussing that time, we can analyze. Doesn't matter. So we'll be showing that. Then annual quality assurance report. This is a requirement that needs to be submitted. So therefore the manual for the annual quality assurance report is a requirement. This relevant authorities' signatures, their participation is a mandatory requirement there, and you need to really address these issues accordingly. Then any institutional standard cannot be improved or acquired without the program evaluations. So whatever academic program you are running, you must periodically evaluate that programs to ensure the standard fixed by you and also to ensure that the learning outcomes are achieved as per the document which was prepared initially. So program evaluation is a micro component. So this program evaluations needs to be like NBA. The way National Board of Accreditation evaluates their program, I personally suggest that this type of program evaluation methods must be adopted. Faculty, as you know, in a student-centric, in an education system, two are the important aspects. One is student, another is faculty. When the education system is now more towards learner-centric, and when we talk about the learners, learners are not the student alone. It is also faculty. because our system is not now only student specific, it is learner specific. So learner intensive system requires faculty to be a learner, and when faculty to be a learner, their development programs are mandatory. So the competence development of the faculty through faculty development program to enhance their teaching, research skill, or holistic development of faculty is a requirement. So the institute must have a calendars planned for the faculty development programs, must outline what are the benefits they are expecting, must be told to the faculty member these are the expectation from you, and periodically those expectations are reviewed, and must a corrective measure must be taken up so that the faculty delivers to the expectation level of the IQSC document. Many of the institutes, when we go, we see the faculty development calendars alone. They create the calendar that this month 10 number of faculty will be trained in this particular course offered by IIT. This course it will be by the EMRC centers, but they don't spell out what they expect from this training. What is the training outcomes expected? They don't spell out. They don't discuss with their faculty. There is no such document which shows the discussion happened with these faculties, sponsored for attending this program, with a clear-cut guidelines that you must learn this thing from the system. Unless those specific things are told or divided among yourself, or you yourself decide, you will not you will not be in a position to spell out that, or you cannot measure that. That is the reason before the starting of this timetable I asked, do you have any specific requirement? Please tell me so that I'll try my level best to accommodate your requirements. But none of you could answer that. None of you could actually come out with an idea that we want this, because maybe this type of discussion you never happened. So faculty development programs is not simply creating a calendar. The document must speak that what you expect from this faculty after he get trained. Student feedback system. Student feedback system, when you follow, many of the institutes, they go with the offline feedback system. Please don't do that. That is one of the reason that majority of my visit, I see them, they are following a feedback system which is offline in nature, voluminous papers they are collecting, but the analysis are not done properly. My suggestion is that therefore we have kept a session using Moodle. You can use your feedback total system for yourself, integrate that to your activities, take a dynamic feedback from the student. The student feedback should be multi-layer feedback. It cannot be just exit feedback or midterm feedback. You must have an options, not necessarily 50 questions like the exit feedback. You may have 5 core questions or the tools which will answer your intermediate feedback, so that you can take a corrective action on that. The student feedback system is a system which helps not only your improvement, it will improve your departments, it will improve also your institute. So therefore a online approach of feedback collections, micro period, then mid period, then the exit period, that needs to be addressed, and accordingly a documentation has to be prepared. Research promotion has two components. One component is internal support, then justification of that internal supports. With that internal support, how the faculty has performed to get support from the outside, and how the faculty is collaborating or networking with others to get funding from the other funding agencies. So I personally feel that the research promotional schemes should have a clear-cut document specifying that if a faculty will be given a seed money, then the seed money on what areas the faculty can use, and how to repay back that seed money. Repay means, suppose you are getting a seed money of 1 lakh, or like IIT Delhi has 5 lakh seed money rupees. It's not that returning the feedback 5 lakhs rupees. Using that 5 lakhs, if you are getting a project of 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs, that means it is returned. So the faculty must, while taking the seed money, must spell out what is his plan of returning back, where he is going to apply, what type of collaboration is expected, what type of research he is going to conduct which has no repeatability, or somebody has not done that area, or where there is scope of doing more work in that. So this, therefore, the IQSC must ensure research promotional schemes, but at the same times, the accountability must be fixed. The action plan must be prepared. Review or monitoring must be there, so that the research promotional schemes goes to a right perspectives. And let me tell you, in institutional level, in university level, this is a weaker side. Since our country is now moving in a different orbit, I personally feel as faculty member, it is now time that our research component cannot be curtailed. Our research initiatives should not be reduced. Simply teaching is not going to support you as individual, neither your department nor to your institute. So therefore, I'll emphasize more on research promotional scheme. Try to ensure that this particular schemes has a clear cut pathway for the faculty members to follow. Infrastructure assessment. Infrastructure is a requirement, more capital oriented, but certain infrastructure can be added with your support, with your research fund, and with your collaboration. You must look forward to collaboration to enhance your infrastructures with your support partner. Also, the virtual sources which are available, like many of the institutes, they don't use the virtual laboratory established by IITs. Please exercise those benefits which are available, because you have to curate the already available resources for infrastructures, and ask the management to give beyond that which is not available from your curated sources. Many of the things, soft related infrastructure, can be possible from the free open source tools. Then if those things are possible to be taught or to be shown to our students, then why to spend money on that? Rest things which are not available, please spend money on that, so that your students get to know the unknowns also. So therefore, there is a individual requirements. The IQSC must create a roadmap of having a infrastructure assessment, not only at the instrument level, not at the software level, even resource level, even the industry faculty. All those, when we say infrastructure, means it is everything. So needs to be addressed, and where whose role are to be fixed, to be decided. Certain roles are at the faculty level, certain roles are at the HOD level, certain roles are at dean level, certain roles are at the authority level, final authority level. So therefore, these things have to be defined, and IQSC must create a document on that, because the vice chancellor or the director of the institute is the chairman of the team. So therefore, under their chairmanship, when a document is created, this is to be honored. Institutional governance and decision making process cannot be a dhila dala type of things. You cannot delay it. It should have a very clear cut, employee and student friendly policies. It should have a vision and action plan for growth, long term as well as short term, and must fix these targets to achieve in timelines, and supportive decision making should be in place to support those type of set goals to be achieved. So this is a very crucial and critical component of academic institutions. My observation is that many of the institutes they are in local trap. And I am a man who I told you that area of research was antenna and soft computing. In our soft computing, we when we go for global minima or maxima, we solve problem for coming out of the local trap. Sometimes when the maxima, if you are searching, get trapped in a local valley, you think that that is the maximum which is possible. So basically, it is wrong. If you don't come out and see outside and see other maximas are also possible, then you will go on believing yourself that this is the best. So therefore, majority of the institute whom I have visited, I have seen that this institute administration get confined to 4 to 5 people or 5 to 6 people, and they take the decision. Actually, having a core committee is okay. Sometimes the decision cannot be open to the total masses. It is, I agree, because I have already served in that chair, so I understand. But just believing 5 people what they speak is not correct. So somewhere the governance should be more broad-based, multi-orbital, and finally you go to the top pinnacle of orbit for decision. So that the other orbits are supporting, you get the right information, the sensors are in different orbits, you get the data in the servers, that is the main decision making body, and your data are filter every stage without noise, goes with the transparency data so that the governance review process is properly done. IQSC has to help that creating those type of document. Mainly the pathways are to be defined. The one of the major flaw in our IQSC documents are sometimes they create very good things, but the pathways or methodologies are very non-realistic. Either it is missing or very non-realistic pathways are given. Unless a realistic pathway which is applicable to that situation, that place, that type of locality, that type of manpower, you cannot pick up something picked up. You cannot pick up something from the Stanford or MITs and dump on that. So it is very difficult. So therefore, this governance and review process is very critical components, and it gives a belongingness of the institute and university. If you keep them peace, they will also deliver. Then support to the accreditation process. There must be human support, financial support, and expertise support for the accreditation process so that the institute periodically goes through a right kind of accreditation process. So it is not only the faculties who contributes to the quality, even your non-teaching staff, your ministerial staff, your administrators, they need to get exposed to the latest happening. So majority of the institutes, when we talk and we visit, we see that their professional development means only faculty development. Faculty is a major component, I don't deny that. But you cannot exclude the supporting group and the decision making group. So therefore, there must be a plan of action, a calendar of action for facilitating the staff member to professionally develop new competency, new skill, work on the timeline, and also the administrators. Many of the administrators, they live in their past. I've seen that many of the administrators, they live in the past. That मैं जब VC था, when I was a VC I did this, when I was a director I did this. Why you were VC and director 10 years back? So in these type of situations, you cannot just go on living on the past. The time has passed. Now it is demanding for new situation. If you don't know, accept that from others. With your experience and expertise, with your maturity, you can be a better person to implement that in a better way. So please open up yourself, accept the new ideas, and try to facilitate that through your experience and the knowledge database which you are having. So to help this type of administrators, they need to get exposed to broader forum. They should be given inputs in that. Therefore, IQSC must take care of this requirement. Then sometimes the peer reviews are confined to our own persons. The own persons are not very critics. The review process are marked by certain personal friendship, relationship. So therefore, independent third party review is sometimes required, who are critical, who can give you the right kind of inputs so that you can improve in your quality aspects. So quality audit through third party must be initiated, and it should be a periodically process. If not every year, at least 2 years, once you should go for third party audit, because you are going for your peer review through your own people every year. So therefore, every 2 years you must look forward to a third party audit. Stakeholder engagement is a important component, and many of the documents of IQSC doesn't reflect that. When we talk about the engagement of stakeholder, they will put some one to staff, one to faculty members, one to students, but it is not very broad based. Alumni for record sake they show, but the participation of alumni is not very aggressively seen. हाँ जगदीश नमस्ते जगदीश से क्लास चल रहा है मेरा शॉर्ट टर्म कोर्स चल रहा है मैं शाम को 4 बजे बाद आऊँगा so stakeholder engagement is very important so you need to really address the stakeholder engagement in a different perspectives. Let me tell you one of the example I used to give why the alumni who the bigger university bigger institute you have a good alumni mass. They belong to different batch. They are in different companies, different places. They have their own network. So why can't your alumni association make a request to that particular group to deliver a half an hour seminar to the student masses as per their convenience? Take a time from them because sometimes they may not having a sufficient time. Sometimes when you are asking for you are going for a curriculum changes, not that particular day you ask them, you give the requirements beforehand. Whatever they are bringing, compile it, share it in the platform, in their platform. So you'll see that a lot of good inputs will come as part of your curriculum. While deciding the projects of the students, when you are launching a project to your students, sometimes we faculty member will launch project what I know, even if it is not acceptable in the market. Why can't those projects be brought from the alumni? Why can't you ask these alumni to share those projects titles? And you, as a faculty, may not be in a position to guide them fully, but definitely your students they are capable of getting the information from various sources, getting the expertise from various sources. Even they will be in touch with those alumni to get you the project done. So somewhere the involvement of alumni are documentary limited, but it is in real sense very less practice in many of the institutions. So I think it is time now we must look forward to that. Best practices sharing, generally it is not done. One department if is doing a good job, it is not told to the other department till they get to know that oh this is the department who is doing this type of good practices. I think it is time that periodically the best practices are to be shared, and also that is the reason why I have given you this different agencies who are into the accreditation, assessment, and evaluations, so that go through their best practices which they have create a document in that respect so that you can get to know what are the best practices followed in other institutions, and that can be incorporated in your own institute. Institutional planning is a policy related approach. It goes with the strategy. It will review the strategy, it will review the vision, it will review the mission, it will set the quality goals with certain objectives defined for you. So therefore, this is more towards the higher body. But the higher body cannot keep themselves aloof from the reality. So there must be some sources of getting information from the student, parents, employer, alumni, even the beneficiary outside your campus. Maybe because majority universities, you'll see that you have developed a educational society outside your campus. So those people indirectly or directly, those data should come so that the institutional planning can be in a proper direction. Already we have discussed the quality capacity building. So I think the professional development takes care of that. So I will not repeat that. It is a repetition while I was putting this point. Maybe I overlooked that. Feedback integration is a requirement. You take feedback, you analyze the feedback, but integrating that to a decision making for improvement in future is not happening. So the feedback integration to the decision making, which will be visible after certain times, needs to be really emphasized. Even if it is partially visible, you must bring that in the documentation that look, this is the feedback which we received 3 years back. Remedial action was taken on this. Based on this remedial action, review and monitoring were happening. And now, based on this particular process, we have now improved in this aspect up to this area. So therefore, the feedback integration is a strong component, needs to be taken care very seriously. And that is the reason why I'm insisting that offline feedback is not a choice. If you really require this feedback integration to happen, this needs to be in online, and you can really create a pop-up approach so that you can verify whether this is happening or not. And if it is not happening, then you can go for a again corrective action on that. So the remedial corrective actions, unless a timeline is reminding you, you may forget in the offline mode. So therefore, the offline mode is not a right approach for the uh, feedback integration. So somehow online feedback integration is a requirement. Document of best practices must be shared with others, must be promoted, and must be publicized to create a brand name for yourself. And that is happening, that will be possible if you go for the document management systems. So again, I'll insist that the document management system is more or less a digital way of doing the things, because your own best documents, I've gone through many of the good documents when I visit various institutes. One of the institute I will not name here, they have a fantastic documents of value-based educations following the Swami Vivekananda's philosophy. One of the best, many of you might have studied Swami's philosophy of education. The Swami Vivekananda model of education systems with a lot of values and ethics embedded in that. Those people, they created a document, they have a center of Swami Vivekananda education practices. They call the people there, they get the people, deliver the type of seminar. They ask the student and faculty member to be part of that. But this document which they have created with a proper process, tool and pathways, they lie in their IQSC center. It doesn't come out of their IQSC center. But I personally feel that this type of people should disseminate these documents, publicize this document, not only for them, because they will definitely get a brand name for themselves because they have created this document with their own vision, but it will help others to also go for that. Similarly, many startup approach, industry institute integration. Many of the institute, they have good practices of integrating the industries. Industry becomes part of their system. Therefore, I am not telling linkage, it is integration. The industry faculty becomes part of their faculty systems, the laboratory, the industry becomes the part of their laboratory systems. So many of the institute nowadays, they have this type of best practices in industry institute interaction and integrations, but documents are not available. So therefore, their way of innovation, their way of integrating the industry, their way of bringing their product as a marketable products are not coming out, and it is getting confined to their own space only. So to get advantage of this, what you have prepared, you must start disseminating those things in a formal way, and so that people give credit to you, at the same time take benefit out of your expertise what you have documented in that documentation. You cannot be an isolated institute just talk about yourself. You have to always go with the national quality standards, like you have national credit frameworks, you have now ABC. Lot of this NEP 2020 things are happening. So those components are to be aligned, a mapping has to be done, a matrices to be prepared, a core committee should sit on that, where we lag, where we already have achieved, and what is the next step of improvement. So accordingly, alignment with the national quality standards needs to be addressed. And also sometimes do see the quality standard of Quality Council of India, QCI. So that also, because QCI, mainly the laboratories, medical laboratories, that they follow this, why can't this same standard or similar type of standard or some part of that standard cannot be integrated to our own laboratories? So you can see those national standard documents. In that matter, the BSI also, and I personally feel that quality standards searching from other sources is a requirement, and you can see this aspect also. Public disclosure or transparency is a requirement, and that already I am emphasized. You have to ensure that your ways of disclosing your documents, not making it more confidential, how it is in public domain, how public your own employees, including your employers, are assessing your documents. So transparency is a requirement. So IQSC must have a section, very clear, defined section for public disclosure. So these are the 20 points of IQSC documents, which I personally felt that if you are in a position to take care of these requirements, this 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, sorry, 25 points. If you can take care of these 25 points in a right perspectives, writing the different tools to be followed, methodology or process to be followed, assessment methodology for each individual component, review for each, and set goal for each, it will be a fantastic IQSC document which can create for your institute and university. The things are known to the people. The faculty members are aware of many things, but there must be a clear road to walk on. So the work pathway needs to be elaborately discussed, and it should be in a realistic way. Whatever infrastructure, whatever support system you are having, whatever possibility, networking possibilities you are having, based on this you have to define. So that is a requirement which needs to be addressed. So now how the digital media can really help you, because this is the component I want to really discuss, that today's IQSCs are more towards offline documentation, offline information gathering, offline analysis, but you can really improve, you can reduce your level, you can really improve your impact if you go into the digital media. So the digital medias, I will advocate for free open source tools, though I have mentioned certain things. There are free open source tools which are available, you can take care of that. Now, before entering into the digital media's integration to your accuracy activities, your core committee must sit clearly, have an objectives to define that these areas can have the digital integrations, because all areas at this stage cannot be enhanced with the type of tools available. So therefore, though majority can be done, but not all. So therefore, your core team must sit and clearly define for my institute, these are the things where I would like they should be moving towards the green management systems or the green documentation or the digital approach. I personally feel that your documentation process, if you want to really refer back, go for a further editions, next versions. So unless you follow a digital approach, this is very time consuming and very boring, because in a minimum time, if you want this documentation process to be brought back from a past history and a version of, let's say, 2019 to be made as version of 2023, then you need to bring the version of 2019 after 4 or 5 years to see that. So unless you have a document management systems, you cannot really do it. I personally feel this in document management systems, to gather some informations, your chat GPT also can help you. So certain things I'll be seeing, discussing how chat GPT can be utilized. As you know, the text-based chat GPT, chat GPT 3.5 can be used, but now chat GPT 4, if you go, you can image integration, audio integrations are also coming possible to a partial extent. But we'll go with the free document. We'll go with the free tools. So ChatGPT 3.5 is free, so we can use that. So document management, especially keeping it in Google Drive so that you can bring it back anytime you want. Then you SharePoint or the softwares which can help you to organize the document, store the document, those things are to be used. Then the presentation of the documents is very important. That is what you'll be learning from one of my staff, Dr. Kamal Deep, who is in touch with you people, sharing quiz, discussing quiz. I have made a request. He's a computer engineer, BTech, MTech, PhD in computer science and engineering. He will show that, forget about other things. Your PowerPoint is so capable of delivering a lot of good things. So in that session, which is tomorrow afternoon, Kamal will show that how your documents which you are keeping it as part of IQSC or keeping it for presentation in front of the NAC team or UGC team or NBA team can create a different type of impact through a strong, creative, visual, appealing approach. So a presentation software's approach is required. There are many media tools to bring back lot of insertion in your presentation. So certain things can be more interactive, more engaging, like the ARBR MR tool. You have created a, let's say, e-content where you want to be shown that it is interactive, or a three-dimensional visualization is possible out of that. A augmented reality will give a extra engaging approach to the students and the visitors also. So those media tools also can be taken care, and Dr. Suniti, one of our research assistant who is also working in this area, will be taking a session on that. So I have brought these media tools, how the media tools can really help those insertion to give a better impact or maybe a impactful presentation in front of the team. Because with video, audio, text embedded in that, it's very easy to convince people. Simply going on the text like what I'm doing is very difficult to make you convince. So therefore, this thing, simple text, will have a partial impact on the mind. But when you bring this insertion, it will definitely bring a different type of impact in the mind, and that is what exactly which we will be showing you in different sessions. Then your documents and whatever the IQS related, there should be a dedicated page for that, so that everything can be directly accessed. It should not be mixed in so many the activities which are happening in your institute. So the website or the intranet of your university must be organized in such a way that a lot of documents can be in the intranet so that you people can work on that, and the things which you want to put it for the outside people can be on the website. So there should be a separate page. And standardized format template, it is definitely documentation process approach, so that you need to follow. Content structure and navigation. So what, like I told you, evaluation I am writing first, assessment. It is wrong. Assessment should come first, then the evaluation. So therefore, the content logically should be with a clear heading and subheading so that the search will be easy. Hyperlinks are to be done so that in one place you don't get crowded. So that only when it is the need, I'll go to the hyperlink and get the navigation done for that. So therefore, content structure and navigation is also required. Then the accessibility should not be that it is only partially accessible. Even the people who are uh, the special people, special category people, they should be also in a position to access your documents or the information. So the people having certain individual disabilities who are part of our systems, are part of our society, are part of our stakeholder, should not be deprived of getting the accessibility. So accessibility of this digital document also needs to be taken care. Visual designing is basically appealing approach. So the coloring, the lettering size, the penetration to your observations, the graphics, icons, those needs to be really seen, and Dr. Kamal will be talking on that, so I will not go for it. To make the people engaged, involved. If it is a limited thing, personally you can make them engaged in different tasks. But when you are making them a mass, like today I'm handling, even though I want to do a lot of activities in front of you, I am unable to do so because you are far away from me. So in that situation, you go for quizzes, survey, so those type of things, so that the audience get periodically engaged in that. Different versions are there, so anyhow you leave it to this. Then collaboration tools are to be developed, or the dashboards are to be created in such a that you have a common workspace where people can contribute, and finally you are in a position to give a proper type of documentation to the university or the institute. Sometimes the IQSC must facilitate this type of training and support for their faculty members so that they are empowered in their digital tools. In our department, we conduct a lot of such courses. Here also, you'll be seeing a certain sample of those courses which we conduct. So, making the faculty member more empowered in the digital tool is the call of the day when we are talking about the holograph teachers who are expected by 2030, and in our country you'll find 25-26. My forecast is by 25-26 we'll see those type of teachers. So unless we are digitally empowered, we cannot cope up with the future requirements. Feedback mechanism, lot of discussion which we have done. So module based feedback mechanism we'll be discussing. There is a session on that, so you'll be getting to know this thing. Obviously, digital media is easy to regularly update, and security, because digital media requires a certain amount of security. So that cyber aspect of the document needs to be addressed, and also like sometimes to make your people more aware and accessible, you should start giving this small blogs, small notifications, small news announcement, and like that you have to uh, really promote your accessibility in the system. So that's the way I see that the digital media has a lot of branches now can be integrated to your IQSC group or the place where you are looking for to going for a documentation, because majority of you have a separate IQSC cell. So in those type of cell, if you can really improve this particular digital integration to that, then it will be a simpler, transparent, flexible approach for you. Initially, it appears to be difficult, but once you start adopting, believe me, that you can really get a lot of input out of that. I see the Ayaz Khan has raised a hand, so please go ahead, Ayaz. You have some queries? Ayaz, you can go ahead.
Ayaz Khan sir, you raised your hand. Kindly unmute and ask your question.
Maybe it is a mistake. No. Okay. So, so at this stage, I stop here because I have given you the almost all the 20-point approach, 25-point approach to see that you get to know about the different units of IQSC, and certain units can be integrated with the digital media. As we go in our 5 days time, a lot of those practical thing I'll be bringing into a picture. I'll be also showing certain integration of digital media, how you can improve. At this stage, I leave you people to solve that task. So I need the task one to be done right now. I need a document from you on continuous improvement. So the continuous improvement, what you have to give me, continuous improvement or peer review. One of these things you can choose. Any center can choose one of them. So what you have to give me is that what is the objectives of this. You have to put the objectives. Please note down this. Then the set goals for next 3 years, year-wise goals for 3 years. 3, the tools to be used for continuous improvements. 4, the processes or the method to be used. Then 5, the assessment and evaluation mechanism. Assessment and evaluation mechanism. 6, the review. So you create 1 to 2 pages documents on this. I give you 30 minutes. At 12:45 we meet, discuss for 15 minutes. 6 center, each center will be given 3 to 4 minutes to present their aspect, and after that we'll break for the lunch. So we meet at 12:45 till 12:45, 6 centers. You have to work on these tasks. I repeat the tasks. One, as you have to create a document or the approach for continuous improvement or peer review. One of these you have to pick up. You have to write objectives, set goals for 3 years. You have to define the tools, direct, indirect both, the processes, direct, indirect both, assessment and evaluation mechanism, and review. So that, and also before review, one monitoring approach. 6th is monitoring, 7th is review. 6th is monitoring, 7th is review. So on 7 subtitles you have to discuss.